Peace. Can anybody hear me? Make sure my audio is good and I'll continue. Make sure my audio. There we go. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the 5-player early weekend edition regarding the world news that's happening throughout our great land here in America and the world throughout. I usually don't like to get up as far as the title of the video, like in terms of like what's important and what's not. A lot of conservatives are tied up, and I'm not a conservative again, or I have conservative talking points by today's standards, but I'm not a Republican conservative. However, a lot of times conservatives get very tied up with the rainbow issue and being a antagonistic as far as their dispositions when it comes to anything to do with the alphabet mafia. I don't know how to go around the titling of the group, the rainbow mafia. I don't know, the force, many colored force. Many conservatives get very tied up with that argument, and I could see the why they may get tied up in the terms of like sometimes like you've seen stories in the news where there were drag queens, let's say, that were reading to children at schools. Michael Johnson, how you doing, Mr. Johnson? Boxing Talk More. He said, "Them your peoples." Yeah, I'm actually speaking about your peoples right now, the liberals and the rainbows. But thank you for coming through. But a lot of conservatives sometimes they give. I've thought in the past that they gave the topic too much burn. In the sense of like I always thought that there was way more important things to relish on, but the rainbow mafia, in a sense, sometimes they can infringe in terms of like reading to children. Like a lot of times, like people were up in arms regarding drag queens reading to children, and that's not appropriate. I think drag queens a lot of times, like when they're out and about in a performative setting, that they usually go out of their way to perform the stuff they normally perform, and a lot of the what they normally perform is basically dudes dressed up as women acting ratchet. And I could see why people wouldn't want people who are performing in that capacity all the time, which is a sexual capacity in a sense. I mean, like the fact that men want to dress up in women's costumes, but and in addition to like the overt ones, they're more out in the open as far as being performative. I mean, a lot of times it could border on fetishistic, like the people that partake in that. You know, like a lot of times that those performances are relegated to strip clubs and stuff like that. And then to have that crossover push, sometimes that happens from like the Rainbow Army. Conservatives get up in arms about that, and I could see that. I could see like why one would get defensive, particularly if you have kids in school, which I homeschool my son after 7th grade because of this kind of stuff as well. But I could see why conservatives may get up in arms regarding infringement of rainbow agendas, if you will. And even though I'm never one of these people that wants a space for that kind of stuff. Like I don't look at shows and say, oh wow, like, you know, there's gay dudes in the show, and the show now is a lot more inclusive and better because of that. No, I've never once said that, you know, I wish this show had or these movies had a far more rainbow presence. And I think most Americans feel that way as well. But how society is right now, and the fact that this has become a sort of political argument in terms of like rainbow and stuff like that, and also considering that a lot of times political arguments on the internet around the world, in America particularly, they get very animated. People get in your face and whatnot. So I think a lot of people who may have had a feeling that they found the rainbow incursion into corporations in entertainment. A lot of TV shows have that. A lot. I feel that a lot of people who may have a distaste for it but may not express it outwardly, and I feel the same way in a sense. I'm from New York City, like, and I'm in a very artsy community, if you will. Like, as far as my friends are, a lot of them are in the art community. I go to a lot of galleries and shows in New York City. It's not like I'm doing it in Iowa or some shit. It's probably the capital of art, maybe in the world. So this kind of talk that I'm saying right now is definitely not popular in those circles. And my expectation is that if I were more bombastic in my stances, as far as maybe having opposition to a rainbow incursion at every turn, that a lot of the people in the crowd of my real life, as far as like the art world in a sense, would probably find that distasteful and probably be disappointed. But who cares? Like, I'm not here trying to school them either. I'm not trying to like flex that, I'm not for like a rainbow incursion at every turn. But nevertheless, like, I mean, like, although at times you can't really register a complaint when you see the rainbow has incurred into your life, and it's not your choice, i.e., when the corporate media pumps it down your throat at every turn. People in 2025 are now starting to show more outward distaste. And the lead story in this, in terms of the Mets, if you guys don't know, I'm a humongous Met fan. I'm probably the biggest Met fan that I know. I love the Mets. I plan my life around this team. I'm a sports fanatic too, but most of my fanaticism is relegated to my love of the New York Mets. There's nothing more important than that team for me. And in recent years, you had a lot of teams, corporate people that were changing their logos to reflect a rainbow for pride. Quietly, though, especially in the NHL, a lot of teams are kind of like reverting away from that. A lot of corporations are also reverting away from that, from not only selling products that have rainbow stuff, but trying to giving too much credence to like Pride Month, for instance. A lot of teams are quietly walking away from doing that. And even the teams that are still doing it, you have complaints from certain players, like the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw, I believe, had a silent protest by writing a Bible verse on his hat. But a lot of teams on the quiet. I mean, it's not being like really publicized like that because they don't want protest or leftist lunatics, boycotting games or like giving a hard time to these teams. Again, the rainbow lobby has a lot of power, and corporations and teams don't want that power focused on them or used against them negatively. But the Mets, although I love them, are one of these teams that are holding out the pride agenda because we're in June. I mean, and June is the month of Pride. This is the quietest Pride month in probably like 10 years, which I'm thankful for the current presidency for that. But I'm sorry. Yeah, folks, I missed your comment, Michael Johnson. But he said, yeah, folks in 2025 are jumping the Trump ship. Yeah, a lot of people are coming on to to what they feel Trump or conservatives may prefer, and a lot of people feel that Trump is not for the rainbow agenda like a liberal lunatic or a corporatist would be in 2024, let's say. But unfortunately, my team, the New York Metropolitans, are one of the last holdouts. And on a day in which I believe it was Flag Day, something in which you would normally see flags flown and whatnot, in Citi Field, the Mets home stadium, there's been a lot being said on conservative Twitter, if you will, about the fact that the Mets are currently stuck in a 5-game losing streak, in spite of the fact that right before that losing streak, they were the best team in the major leagues in Major League Baseball. Um, but if you guys don't know what happened on the event of said night, the I guess the holiday, it was a flag, American flag day, kind of like correlating with the night in which they were going to be celebrating Pride Night at Citi Field. I guess they picked one day like to put emphasis on Pride Night, and that day I believe coincided with like a national holiday that many people don't know about, and it might be like Flag Day or some shit. I don't know. But the Mets on that day, they ran their Pride celebration, which is unnecessary. I mean, I don't go to games that often in person, but they do have a Pride Night in years past, and this year was no different. Except they tampered down on a lot of it, but they made the Mets logo one in which it would reflect the colors of the rainbow, and it's actually imprinted behind home plate, which is the thumbnail I use for this stream today. In addition to, and I think what more people are showing on Twitter is the fact that during the singing of the national anthem, a fat woman was singing the national anthem, and during the time in which they show the flag, the United States flag, on the Jumbotron, they actually cut away to the Pride flag as well, which was also flying in the stadium that night. Since then, I'm not sure if one thing correlated with the other, or maybe the gods are punishing the Mets for representing the Pride Mafia on that day. But since then, we haven't won a scratch. The team has been out of sorts. I mean, literally the night that they flew it, I watch every game. I watch every single game. I haven't missed a game in like 3 years probably. But the night that they flew the flag, I mean, it was literally a noticeable difference in the play of the team. It seemed as if that night they were playing with extreme brain fog, making errors on the field that they normally wouldn't make, and the tenor of the team since that day has remained the same. We've stunk every game, lost every game. And does one thing have to do with the other necessarily? No. But I'm pretty sure that like 90% of most men in this country and throughout the world, they're sick of the rainbow shit. They're sick of the rainbow agenda. I mean, I'm totally for rainbows marrying each other. No, I'm not for rainbows adopting kids, especially rainbow men. But I could give two shits about who people or what people do behind closed doors. But the rainbow agenda, which is in large part fueled by single white liberal females, the most raunchy crowd of them all, in addition to butch stud women trying to play the role of female, but they don't really give it that much. The studs are more of the enforcement arm, and minority homosexual men are also part of that enforcement arm too, as far as in kinetic situations that happen in real life. But everybody, I'm pretty sure the Mets as well are, or the male players of the Mets are not for the rainbow agenda being pushed upon them, as is the case in these last pre-2024. And it sucks that my home team, the Mets brainchild, I mean, Steve Cohen, Alex Cohen, I mean, they're stuck on honoring this pride thing. I mean, even so much so that if you look at the Mets Twitter or anything like that, it still has the that disgusting rainbow flag that also includes like a white and black panel, which I don't know what the hell that's for, because that's not a rainbow. And it sucks too, because I'm an 80s baby, a real 80s baby. You know, I played as a kid in the 80s. I remember almost everything about the 80s, like a lot of my childhood. But damn, there was a point I was gonna make with that, and it's not the point of the fact that that stuff wasn't present as a young man. But I'll remember the point as I make it. But I think most people, most men especially, are disenfranchised that this agenda is still being pumped in 2025. Particularly men, because men probably have a hard time. Men have been the most neutered in these last couple of years with the acceptance of all this stuff, with the acceptance of stuff that they have that they're not really signing up for. And I mean, like, and the jabs are also one aspect of that too. I mean, like, there are a lot of men that not only they got jabbed against their own will, but their wives and sometimes their kids did as well. But liberal society, especially the liberal tech society, is very pro submission. And in a large part, this rainbow thing was one of those submissions. I mean, like, if there's one thing I could reflect as far as my 80s, mentioning the fact that I'm an 80s baby, is that I don't remember many people within that community that were so over the top, blunt. And I think a lot of people in that community don't want to be as bombastic as the people, the underbelly, or the people that really run the rainbow agenda as far as on a corporate level. They don't want, and they also don't want, probably want part with the lunatics that want to make it a political point, I guess, of trying to read in front of kids with sexual attire on, mostly men. You don't get a lot of women dressing up as men that are trying to read to kids. You don't get a lot of men dressing up as women that go read in old people's homes neither. You know, so it's a crossroads in a sense that we're reaching to as a society and as a country, in like whether like you're gonna continue to take incursions that are done by bad people. Then the people that run liberals or liberal brain tanks are at the end of the day either lunatics, and a lot of them are just really bad in their thinking, in the sense that they want to forcefully make you submit to the rainbow agenda, to the pharmaceutical jab agenda, to the labeling anybody who has sort of distaste for anything liberal as a racist or as a coon or as a sellout. You know, and that's a lot of people thankfully are pivoting away from that, and a lot more sunlight, the greatest disinfectant, is entering into the picture, and people are seeing things for what they are. People know who the bullies were, and who the foot soldiers of the liberal agenda are, or the people that remain silent throughout all this lunacy. And I think in large part, many people are waking up from that, and it's a fantastic thing to see. It's fantastic that a lot of people, like when I go to like the Mets Facebook page, a lot of people that see the fact that the Mets still have the rainbow logo on. I remember my 80s point too, and I'm gonna say it now, but a lot of people see that rainbow logo on the Mets Facebook page and on Mets Twitter page as their logo, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna remain with the same rainbow logo throughout the month of June, Pride Month, unfortunately. But a lot of people, most people that are on there are showing distaste for it. I mean, and it's a great thing to see, like the fact that people are outwardly showing distaste for it, that people are outwardly, whether that's true or not, attributing the fact that the Mets are on this current losing streak because we chose to honor that pride flag. Also, what I was gonna say is that as a kid, I remember they would sing a song, "I could see a rainbow, see a rainbow, see a rainbow in you," and I used to think that song was lit. I love that song. And I also remember, I mean, I hate to say it now, but I actually, I think I had a shirt that had a rainbow. I think it was a Reading Rainbow shirt as a young man, and I love that shirt. You know, and the fact that this group of mostly white men have co-opted that rainbow, where it's now attributed to them. I don't want rainbow anything in this house, like, and that sucks. I mean, it's a cornucopia of colors, but I guess it's been permanently damaged. But one thing also I was gonna say is regarding the Mets logo, or the militaristic rainbow also has the white and black stripe. I guess like a remnant from like from social justice or some shit. So they added white and black to the colors of the rainbow, which white and black shouldn't be a color, but especially on a rainbow. But here we are. I mean, it's the militarized um, LGBT plus aspect of it, where they added the black and the white stripes to it. Who knows? But we need it gone. I hope that in 2026, and again, if it's the Dodgers or the Yankees doing the rainbow shit, more like, I mean, not more power to them. I would laugh. I would love it if the Yankees, a team I hate, I can't stand the Yankees, and I can't stand the Dodgers almost as much. But should it be them that are the teams that are doing it, I couldn't give two shits. Even if they win in the process of displaying the militarized rainbow flags within their logo, I couldn't care less. But I mean, the gods are funky, and they chose my team to rock this rainbow flag on their logo and honor it on our Flag Day, whatever the hell that holiday was. And the baseball gods are frowning upon it as we speak. I got some comments here, and I'm gonna get to my next topic unless I remember anything else. Salute Sir Foul Player, and if you guys haven't, or if you guys please subscribe to Bruce Gaz Boxing, Jazz, and More, in addition to my brother Mr. Johnson Boxing Talk and More. And they're saying what's up to each other. We're all YouTube friends. I love this platform, in spite of the fact that YouTube is a censoring platform as well too, and they censor yours truly, I believe. But nevertheless, I mean, I think YouTube is a gift of the gods to humanity at a time when it needs it the most. Humans need to be hearing each other talk in 2025. It's something we don't do. I hate text too, and I can't stand when people say, "Why do you call me?" like rather than texting me. Let me see. Damn dog, you never said anything about the blue stripe for police on the American flag. It's also gay. I don't like those blue stripe. If there's one thing that's been pertinent as far as political positions on this channel, Sir Foul Player has no love for 12. I think that I don't want violence done to 12 neither. Let's get that straight. But again, the Mets didn't go out of their way to display the blue stripe American flag with their logo, which I would have found that distasteful as well. But I mean, if there were a choice between honoring police, which I don't agree with one bit. I think a lot of police are scumbags. Not all. I think a lot of them, if it comes to it, they'll be the foot soldiers that enforce a lot of tyranny. We've seen that in recent history too. But if it came to a choice of honoring even corrupt cops, let's say if they had an orange stripe for corrupt cops, or honoring the rainbows, I'd pick the orange stripe all day. Not even a question. Especially in 2025. I mean, the Rainbow Coalition has a lot of power. The Crying for Cops Coalition, I mean, that's just seems like a bunch of white dudes. Let me see. But let me go to my next topic too. But that is a good point though. I don't like any deviation to the flag by and large. But this is not my bone of contention. My bone of contention is the fact that a lot of teams are walking away from honoring the pride thing, and the Mets, unfortunately, are one of the teams that are retaining pride celebrations. Again, I don't know if you enjoy pride celebrations. My brother Michael Johnson, Boxing Talk More. I think you told me you were a marshal in the Key West Pride Parade in 2024, if I remember correctly. But I think most Americans are. I'm joking around too. Mr. Johnson Boxing Talk More was not the marshal in the Key West Pride Parade. But having said that, I think most Americans, even the ones like myself, I mean, I'm sympathetic to liberal causes, including that cause, before they even adopted the rainbow. I was totally for them being married to each other. I mean, and a lot of them are cool people. I mean, like, New York club scene. I mean, they're all over the place. The but and a lot of them are really nice people. Um, the and I'm used to, honestly, '90s gay dudes. If I got to be a little bit more blunt, a lot of those dudes were basically like, propping up our women, and I mean, weren't really pushing the issue, so to say. I mean, now it seems like with every issue politically in this country in 2024 and 2025, it's almost like a we're owed um, something, so we should be outward with our agendas, and if it were like, let's say, a bunch of like hot women that are dancing inappropriately or reading, hot women like that we're gonna read to kids, like I wouldn't be for that, like but yet, like hot women dressed scantily, like a lot of Transformers are prone to do. Like Transformers don't just dress as like, Miss Doubtfire all the time, like Tyler Perry does. A lot of the Transformers motherfuckers have beards, bras, showing their nasty beer guts. I mean, it's awful, and they want to do that stuff in front of kids. I mean, you only want to do that stuff in front of kids because they know that there's a sexual undertone and all that. And listen, I'm gonna tell you from personal experience, as far as how sexual things could mess up a kid. And I actually have a best friend who went through a similar experience that I did. But when I was a young man, all my brother, before my little brother, who's in jail, was born, I was the youngest of four brothers at that time. And I could point to the fact that my brothers, they used to any like nasty magazine, or like sometimes there would be VHS like covers that people would discard in New York City when we were young, and my brothers would collect that shit and like hold them. They'd have little collections of that stuff, or if one of their friends had a nasty magazine, like they would retain it. But my brothers at that time were like 7 years older than me, and me seeing like a lot of those dirty magazines fucked me up. I'm gonna be straight up, and I was seeing a lot of that stuff 5 years old, 6 years old. It completely took the mystery out of a lot of that stuff for a young person. And I have a friend who he's one of my best friends, honestly. And we used to do a lot of like dirt together when we were young, when we were younger. And he's now a school principal, and he's ultra Christian. And he became ultra Christian when we were like right in the middle of our kind of like dark era, or his dark era. My dark era lasted far beyond his. But when he was like 20, he just became a hyper like Christian, and I always commended him for that. But he also said too that when he was a young man, that his older brother exposing him to debauchery or pornography screwed his mind up, and I could attest to that myself. Now, like for let's say a little boy in some school, and some transformer was gonna come read to my class, and God forbid, like I've seen one instance where in the England a transformer went to go read to some kids, and he had a outfit that was covered in dildos. Now, if I were to see that, let's say, or like let's say if I were among that crowd, being like as a little boy being read to by a bearded transformer with outward sexual objects out in the open. Let's say some asshole took my picture, and the only face of any kid presentable were my own, or it would screw me up eternally. Or the fact, if a transformer were doing anything performative, anything, and our subject or have to be relegated to watching it as a young man, that shit would completely screw me up in perpetuity. And that stuff happens all the time, especially in the hood. I mean, like in New York City, hood schools, they be trying very strategically too, from what I know now, to try to input that stuff on the sneak. And a lot of times it's these liberal white people that are doing it. You know, liberal whites are obsessed with screwing the minds up of minority children, especially minority boys. Liberal whites are the reason as to why our minority boys are acting the most right now, and why our minority women are acting so ratchet right now. We're doing the worst right now, and it's because of liberal whites endorsing us at every turn for our bad behavior. I'm gonna put it straight up. And again, I'm not saying it from a high and mighty position. I was probably worse behaved, not in no rainbow sense, as far as bad behavior, how minority men do bad behavior nowadays. I was an expert on these subjects by partaking in it, if you will. But I real recognize real at the end of the day, and I'm an old man right now too. Like I don't want it to be like to where people look at Puerto Ricans or minorities and say, oh well, you know, that's just how they are. Hells no. You know, I like enigmas, you know, and I consider myself an enigma in that sense too, and I'm not like blowing my own horn. But it's very hard to get out of bad liberal thinking, which my people are afflicted with, and I can't even begin to imagine how bad it would be for some liberal lunatic to try to input, you know, rainbow stuff into these hood schools, which I know happens all the time in New York, and me having to feel like, you know, I may have to kind of like, I don't know, live my life and show that you're not that as a young minority kid. It's very tough. But let me see. Nah, I was in the Christmas parade when I made the news. I was joking about you being a marshal in the Rainbow Parade. Get to the next subject, fool. Ah, nah. If I remember stuff about the rainbow agenda, I know you may not like that I speak against the rainbows, my brother. But you know, you got to let me go in on the liberals. I know sometimes you could defend liberal perspectives, my brother Michael Johnson. But hopefully you'll be converted away from that. We don't need you to voting alongside these liberal lunatics and supporting their or defending their causes, if you will. But no, it does foray me into my next subject, and it's something I've been covering on this channel for the past 2 days, I believe, and it's regarding Kash Patel referral to Mr. Grassley, who I believe is a senator or congressman, regarding an investigation into the election tampering that was done from China in the American election. Trump has, as of this morning, and I actually put it on a post in my community page, called for a special counsel investigation into the 2020 election. If you guys aren't aware, too, Trump actually ordered for a special counsel investigation into the 2016 election. It's an election that he actually won, and he called for that special counsel investigation, which was done by Special Agent Bolton, I believe, John Bolton. And they actually found that the Clinton campaign, along with the DNC, I believe, were financing the Russia collusion hoax, which, again, the American media is not going to tell you that the Russia collusion was found to be a hoax, but the special counsel investigation found just that was a bought and paid for story done by the campaign of Trump's opposition in the 2016 election. And I think it was very honorable for him to investigate an election which he actually won. But I didn't vote for Trump, or I didn't vote for anybody in 2016, and I was really out of tune with American politics that year. I was moving away from Brooklyn to New Jersey. I just had a lot of shit going on. My dad died. However, so I wasn't really in tune with what was happening politically. I just knew that a game show host was running for election. I really hated that game show. What was it called? The Apprentice. I can't stand most TV shows. I wasn't nuts about Hillary Clinton, so I just gracefully bowed out. But I wasn't keeping in tune much, if you will. But in the findings of the 2016 election, the fact that, again, Russia collusion story paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and you still, till this day, I mean, in political discussions that happen here on YouTube, like which I engage in addition to throughout on mainstream media, you'll still hear people tell of the fact that Russia is pulling the strings on Trump. In fact, the channel that I love, Reggie Owens, he was just concluding the same just a couple days ago in terms of the fact that Trump's kind of has a relationship with Putin as if he owes Putin something, and that's something that was bought and paid for. Just the fact that he still has that distinction of being labeled a tool of the Russians, if you will. That distinction was kind of paid for by, well, not, it was paid for outright by the Clinton campaign and reinforced in the American media. And the American media never reverted away from that. I believe that they actually got an award for reporting on that, if I remember correctly. Even I can't I don't want to say, I don't want to put a stamp on that, but I believe there was a reporter that was actually awarded a award for reporting on the fact that Russia may have had strings into Trump. I got some comments too. Let me see. They didn't find anything. They have a theory they can't prove. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Whether if that's 2016 or 2020. Reggie can't stand Trump. I know. I think you brothers don't like Trump either. And I don't care either way. I mean, like, I don't have anonymity with people that are against Trump. You know, like even though a lot of times, if I contend something that might not be that might be anti anything liberal, whether that be Joe Biden, recognizing that Joe Biden was in a comatose state, you know, people will make you build me up as I'm like some big Trump supporter. If I notice that Kamala Harris is inexperienced or a functioning retard, which was on display in 2024, you know, it makes you in some people's eyes, a Trump supporter. I'm taking a wait and see approach with Trump, like I've said many times on this channel. In spite of the fact that I did want him to win over Kamala Harris, never shy away from that either. But a lot of people, you know, have a high distaste for Trump. I think my advice, if I could give any, in that, I'm not telling you who to like and not like, but you know, it's better to take a, wait and see approach. I think a lot of people sometimes when they look for like Trump news, they only look for something that could be displayed as negative and don't want to hear anything else outside of that. And I mean, you know, I'm not here like to try to prop up Trump to that effect. But again, going back to the 2020 election, I have always contended that the 2020 election was not on the up and up. And big tech, including the platform that we're on right now, YouTube, was really defensive in covering up like any sort of talk regarding the 2020 election. You would get censored in a major way. I'm pretty sure that those mechanisms are still in place. It's very hard to talk about the 2020 election. In fact, if you look up the story that I'm reporting now regarding Kash Patel and the fact that Trump has now recommended a special counsel investigation into the 2020 election, look up a YouTube search and put a filter of 24 hours or 1 week. I mean, the story just came out this morning, but you'll probably find like 3 or 4 stories, and they're going to be sequestered, not much reporting on it. And the mainstream media is not going to touch the story. But there's a lot of stuff that Trump has put out there in an outlandish fashion, which may have a semblance of truth in it, one of which I put on my post today regarding Iran getting cash by way of the Obama administration, as far as legal tender, hard cash on pallets. That's a contention that Trump has made for quite some time. And just yesterday or today, he actually put a Truth Social post out that said just that. Now, Trump's Truth Social posts were, if they had any semblance of sounding any bit outlandish, and in this post he actually put an illustration, AI rendition of Obama bending down by a pallet of hard cash that was going to Iran. The mainstream media normally would have jumped on stories like that. Oh, look at this lunatic on this Truth Social conspiracy website putting out these crazy posts. But a lot of times, Trump puts out a lot of stuff on Truth Social, an app that I don't have either. I only know of Truth Social posts from Trump by way of Twitter. Like, I'll read when somebody shares it on Twitter. However, a lot of times Trump says stuff in the form of a meme that's actually true. That if you actually look it up, um, do have a semblance of truth, and the mainstream media doesn't jump all over that things, regardless of how outlandish they sound, because they also know that there's a semblance of truth to that. But the 2020 election was a subject that none of us could cover in 2021, and even till now, I have a lot of reprehensions of covering that election. Again, Joe Biden, a guy who was on display to be a living coma for even before he sat the presidential chair, somebody who was sequestered throughout 2020 while he was supposed to be campaigning. They were actually calling him Basement Joe because he wasn't showing a live presence in any sort of rally. The liberals made it seem as, oh, well, rallies don't mean votes. And I think they knew what was up because they knew that they had the paper ballots scheme coming down the pipe. But we're starting to see a lot of funky things with the 2020 election. I'm hoping that we get to a place where we could talk about these things candidly and without the fear of channels being sequestered or censorship, which happens on Facebook when you try to share anything regarding that election. And it also happens a lot of times when you bring up the 2020 election on YouTube. But again, we're just starting this. Trump's putting it out there that the 2020 election was funky. If the 2020 election was funky in the sense in which Trump is saying, which is, or which Kash Patel, the head of the the head of the FBI, is stating that that election was won by, in part, Chinese driver's licenses that were used by Chinese nationals to vote into this election, then it's going to change the whole dynamic of everything. Because, again, Joe Biden received the most votes in history, more than Obama. Obama was mad popular. I didn't vote for Obama, but I sure as hell wanted him to win. But I remember everybody in the hood was litty when Obama won, and as was I. I was me and my friend Oliver like dapped it up. Like, I remember the day vividly. The first time Obama won, to be clear. But we thought that myself as a minority, again, I was a highly liberal minority in 2008. This is a long time ago, when I was snapping my fingers and fucking like listening to music that I found distasteful at that time. When the world started getting a little John'd out, I was 100% for Obama winning that election. And I don't believe in elections, American elections overall. Oh, Deuce Times, my brother, my bad, bro. Come to the music show tonight. I've been telling people for 5 years the elections were stolen. Yeah, I mean, and again, like, people didn't really frown on the fact that Joe Biden, nobody was rocking with Joe Biden. The only people that were rocking with Joe Biden were haters of Trump, but they weren't saying, oh, I like Joe Biden because of this or that, because there's only bad shit to say about Joe Biden, like the Joe Biden crime bill, which was locking up minorities all throughout my hood and every hood USA in the 90s and beyond. The whole hood disappeared. I mean, like, but in the DMX era, like, all the older dudes disappeared in the DMX era, and that pretty much left my generation with no OGs running around like madmen by way of Joe Biden crime laws. The Joe Biden crime bill was locking dudes up for like a quarter size of crack, 20 years, 10 years, RICO cases, all kinds of crazy stuff. But Joe Biden, besides having the distinction of being the vice president of Obama, had no other redeeming trait. When he was running against Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard in the Democratic primaries leading up to that, at one point he was fifth place. Your girl Kamala was actually at one point number one before Tulsi Gabbard took her scalp on the debate stage. But they weren't, I believe, they weren't trying to run. Joe Biden wasn't well received. I'll put it like that. At any stage, even when Joe Biden was running against Trump, the people that were making it seem as if Joe Biden was some grandfatherly, dope ass politician were just making shit up. They're only looking out the window when it's scenic, or are not really in tune. They censored all that information, just like COVID. Bingo. And now, you know, in one fell swoop, a lot of that stuff's bursting at the seams to come out. You know, we got the right guy in office, a guy who was spited by all that too. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure Deuce Times agrees with me that the election in 2020 was extremely funky. But whether I was saying that stuff to hood dudes on YouTube, they call me a coon, or you know, all kinds of crazy shit. Some sort of sellout. Or if you said it on Facebook, your account would get censored. They censored Trump for saying that the election wasn't on the up and up. That was actually the reason that he got booted from Twitter, if I remember correctly. You know, a lot of people are saying that January 6th was attributed to Trump because he didn't concede the election. Oh, Trump should have just gave up. You know, and like, you know, and January 6th would have never happened. You know, like fucking January 6th, again, that's the liberal Pearl Harbor. You know, the fact that one protester, who was actually a conservative protester, was killed is equivalent to Auschwitz or Pearl Harbor for liberal lunatics. But again, you felt like, as far as myself, somebody who knew what was what, or who's who in the zoo in 2020, a lot of people knew that election wasn't on the up and up, but the corporate media was very gun-ho about telling you, you know, you're wrong if you feel that the case isn't on the up and up. So hopefully we'll, unlike the Epstein files, which at this point I would have wished were released, regardless of who's on it. Like, I'm not like, I don't want a censored version of the Epstein files. If Trump's on the Epstein files, throw it out there. I'm with it. The more truth, the better. And they did all the censoring right in front of everyone's face. Yeah, word up. But and the thing is too, that right now politically, like, everybody is on some Crips and Blood shit. So long as it was the other side getting censored, you know, a lot of people were quiet. And a lot of conservative dudes, like, you know, especially so-called minorities like you and I, those times, Puerto Rican and black brothers, you know, if we would have went to a barber shop in 2022, let's say, and say the election was stolen, like, you know, I could totally foresee like somebody getting out of their face, you know, just for contending that notion. But thankfully, you know, we're in the truth era, if you will. If you want to look away from the truth, anybody who's listening now, that's a choice that you make on your own. I'm not set tripping on truth. I mean, like, you know, I'd rather hear more truth than less. Like, I don't need truth that makes Trump look good. Like, nah. I mean, I'm gonna cover things that may not be covered, which have a tinge of anti-liberalism to it, as far as on this platform. But I'm not here to cheerlead in any sense. Let me go. Let me finish it off with the story. And my brother Bruce Times put a Twitter story out there. Again, too, I mean, like, I know Deuce Times is also on Twitter, like myself. The realest news is happening on Twitter, in addition to YouTube, but you really got to sort it out. I mean, or like really find the truth on YouTube. A lot of these dudes that talk on YouTube talk about nonsense. If they talk like some truth, they'll also talk about dumb shit, like that really, like, about their personal lives. I ain't trying to hear none of that shit. Bookkeeping shit, like fucking, like schedule, like their own schedule of where they're gonna be. Like I don't care. Like I just want unfiltered truth as much as possible. And again, this channel might not be the one too, because I mean, like I'm on YouTube, and this platform is censoring. I would love to go. I'm gonna make my way to Rumble. If I ever get this channel riveted up, I'm making my way to Rumble, and I'm gonna give the uncensored truth. And it's very hard speaking on certain nations, not America, particularly on this platform, on any sort of big tech, because I mean, you could be looked at as a bigot, and that's one subject that I really haven't touched on. Well, I'm going to touch on it a little bit now as far as the Iran and Israel conflict. But I would like to go in far more than what I do now, to put it plainly. But in terms of the Iran-Israel conflict, it's still a wait-and-see approach. I saw some big-ass building got bombed out in Israel. I'm not sure what it is. Trump, as of yesterday, gave Iran 2 more weeks to negotiate. I read a report somewhere that Israel actually had about 2 weeks of munitions to continue the war as they're fighting now. So basically, they would have to, in 2 weeks, according to that report, go into a different set of war actions outside of like missiles and drones. Like they're running out of missiles and drones, according to that report I read. So there's nothing much that has changed since then. Trump has not really gave a reigning endorsement of Israel, besides retaining the American policy of defending Israel. But he hasn't been giving a reigning endorsement, neither has his cabinet, of what they're going to do. They've been very unclear, and I guess that's necessary in the fog of war. You know, you can't give all your plans away. And I mean, I'm waiting with bated breath. I mean, like at any point I could see from one weekend to the next. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, on a day like today, if the following Monday at the end of the weekend, our lives are completely different from one weekend to the next. If this war escalates, the finances of this country. Yesterday, we actually reached 37 trillion worth of debt. We surpassed the 36 trillion mark. So any sort of calamity could pop off at any time. And I wouldn't be surprised in any sense. I mean, if I give any advice, I mean, again, for emergency situations, prepare yourselves as best you could. Try to keep 2 weeks worth of shit in your house. I mean, you've probably heard that as well. I have a lot of dumb motherfuckers in my life that, when I say, or they'd be like, oh, I got plans. If something like that pops off, and I'll just boil the water from the tap, and then we'll have water to drink. But what if the tap don't work? You know what I'm saying? And things will get extremely hairy. If you guys don't remember, for COVID, the toilet paper, and people were fighting over toilet paper, and COVID wasn't shit. COVID at the end of the day was a flu. But could you imagine if these fights happened because of chicken or some shit, or red meat being limited? How people would wild out. And it's nothing I want to see. But again, any set of the crazy, chaotic nature that we're living in right now could bring us to just that, where we're fighting in supermarkets and on the streets. But with that, always try to stay informed. It's the only advice I could give. That way you're not running out into some craziness. Keep your head on a swivel. You never know who's who out here. And I'm going to wish you guys a fantastic weekend. I'm going to log off now. I got baseball to watch. And fucking this moron cat Thumbs keeps fucking with me. This is the biggest cat. He has an extra finger too. Let me see your hand, Thumb. Yeah, you see his thumb. But 99.7 survival rate. Lose your shit at Costco for TP. Yeah, I know. There was a lot of that happening too. I actually caught COVID in the first week of March of that year, and my wife actually went to the store Dolo's by herself, and she was telling me how people were wilding out. But right when as soon as I was, you know, pissing through my ass and throwing up. I couldn't eat. I lost like 20 pounds in like 2 days. I was throwing up everything. I just got back from Cali though, funnily enough, when that happened. And as soon as I regained any sort of function, I went out and I think I bought like $600 worth of like any food I could bag and any water I could bag. But I consider myself somebody who's sort of prepared. And what I was seeing was a bunch of people that were severely underprepared. You know, people that are looking to do juxes for groceries. Juxes are robberies, if you don't know. But again, and this was over a cold, essentially, a hyper cold, hyper fever. Um, if it's something far more serious, i.e., potential of nuclear strikes, shit. And it's nothing I want, true. I don't want to be prepared in shitty times. I'd rather not have shitty times at all for anybody. But with that, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Go Mets still. I love this team. Hopefully they take that ridiculous Pride logo away from their logo for this month. June should not be Pride month. I hate the month of June because of allergies in general, but the fact that they're lacing Father's, the month that is brought into the harbinger of Father's Day, June, has to get infected with man dressers. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, and hopefully my team wakes up from the notion of honoring Pride. You know, get back to shame. But with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Do help me beat the algorithm. YouTube ain't gonna throw me a bone, but commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing to this channel helps a great deal. I do appreciate the fact that more people are watching this channel. I do hope that the subscriber count at some point reflects that as well. But nevertheless, I'm still going to be committed to coming here and trying to sort things out and navigating life with y'all. But with that, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Should something pop off after the Met game, I'm going to be right back here tonight. But more likely than not, I won't. And I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to do a flea market tomorrow in my house. So maybe I'll come on tomorrow too. Maybe not though. But nevertheless, you guys have a wonderful weekend. And with that, I'm out. Peace.